Hi everyone, and welcome to this plant tutorial bite for Oxygen Not Included. As always, make sure to check out the plants tutorial bite if you haven't already for an overview of the plant mechanics. In this plant tutorial bite, we're taking a quick look at Seakomb, a hanging underwater plant that feeds Pacu and makes Phyto oil in the Prehistoric Planet Pack DLC. Starting off on the map, Seakomb is found in the Wetlands biome, likely with Pacu, jorbos, nits and lura plants. These spawn further out in the Prehistoric Planet Pack, either on its Relica start or if scrambled into other map types. And Seakomb is grown from Seakomb seeds, which can be gotten by digging up a growing plant or collected on harvest with the usual drop chance. Jumping into their details, Seakomb produces Seakomb leaf when harvested, which we'll look at shortly. It is a bit of an unusual plant in that it both grows upside down and in liquids, which is so far a unique combination in the game. Specifically, it can live in all types of water including brine, or in phyto oil or resin, but needs to be submerged. They also have a very wide livable temperature range of between -10 and 85 degrees Celsius, so are very flexible in temperature at least. The plants hang down 2 tiles and have a positive decor of +15 at a 2-tile range. And when grown domestically, you'll need 10 kilograms per cycle of polluted dirt as fertilizer, which is not the easiest material to get. Looking at actually growing the Seakomb, as I've mentioned, it's a bit of a strange plant. It needs to hang upside down, so it's probably best done in farm tiles, which are rotated with the normal O hotkey. They don't require hydroponic tiles, as they don't need any liquids as fertilizer, and planter boxes cannot be rotated. Of course, the plants need to be in any of the liquids I showed, so most commonly in any type of water. Remember that if growing domestic, then dupes or auto sweepers will need to supply polluted dirt to the farm tiles, so make sure the tiles are reachable either from above or below. And Seakomb plants make Seakomb leaf. This has 3 uses, although only 2 really good ones, and firstly they can be used to feed Pacu, which is why they spawn in with them in the Wetlands biome. Pacu can eat either the plant growth directly, or the Seakomb leaf if it is harvested or falls by itself, and this works out to the same amount either way. The numbers here, each Pacu needs 2 domestic Seakomb plants or 8 wild ones, so you will need quite a lot of plants if you want to feed more than a few Pacu. But as they can be starvation ranched, using these for a breeder ranch is very viable. For more information on Pacu ranching, see their critter tutorial bite. Secondly, the least helpful use of Seakomb is in making allergy medication in the apothecary. As the allergic reaction is not common or particularly bad, making allergy medication in most cases is not worth it, but this is now an option. And the last and probably best use of Seakomb is in the plant pulverizer. Here you need to mix 25 kilograms of Seakomb leaf and 75 kilograms of water to make 100 kilograms of phyto oil. Phyto oil itself has 2 uses and is a gear oil in the Bionic Booster Pack for bionic duplicants. They can use this oil instead of crude oil in the lubrication station, or instead of gear balm made in the apothecary to avoid the grinding gears debuff. Then the other use for phyto oil is in the Emulsifier, where it is combined with bleach stone to make biodiesel. Biodiesel is a very useful liquid which acts as a fuel for the new biodiesel rocket engine, or for jet suits or petroleum generators, as well as being able to be used to make blast shot and intracosmic blast shot. To quickly run through this production chain, one domestic Seakomb plant makes 10 kilograms per cycle of Seakomb leaf. Adding to this 30 kilograms per cycle of water gives 40 kilograms per cycle of phyto oil. Then we have to add another 10 kilograms per cycle of bleach stone to in the end make 50 kilograms per cycle of biodiesel. And as an example, if we burn this in the petroleum generator, then averaged over a cycle, it will make a constant 83 watts. Plus 12.5 kilograms per cycle of carbon dioxide and 18 3/4 kilograms per cycle of polluted water. So even if this is converted back into water, another source is needed. Quickly on the topic of bleach stone, this can be dug up from around the map, or made more sustainably from squeaky puffs or dartles, or from the bleach stone hopper. I covered puffs in their own critter tutorial bite, and will cover dartles in their own one too, and here are the numbers for these 3 options. Overall, among these options, I think the bleach stone hopper is probably the easiest if you have desalinators cleaning salt water and access to gold, for example with a gold volcano, or if not, then dartles are possible as well. and I'd probably avoid squeaky puffs. And there's another cool use of biodiesel in that if it freezes below -10 degrees Celsius, it turns into tallow. Tallow is a useful ingredient in making pemmican food, or it can be used in the deep fryer in the Frosty Planet Pack DLC. So that's why Seakomb is actually quite a useful plant. But the last point is to look at its fertilizer, Polluted Dirt. Of course you can farm them wild, using pit planting, as I covered in the wild farming and pit planting tutorial bite, but as we have looked at, you will need quite a lot of plants for any decent amount of Seakomb leaf. Also note here that a wild Seakomb farm needs some careful thought, as the plants need to be submerged. If you make a big connected area of liquid, then the tiles at the bottom will start to take pressure damage if you build too high. To counter this, build wider and not taller, or separate each row into different liquid areas so the mass at the bottom is not too high. The example design I'm showing here does this and also still allows access by dupes. And remember that because they're hanging plants, they need to be planted from bottom to top but still right to left, with 5 tiles of spacing in between. There are a few ways of getting some polluted dirt, such as water sieves, rotting food, or using outhouses, but these methods won't give enough to farm many plants at all. A method I need to touch on is using Pacu, and this can be done with any of the 3 morphs. Pacu excrete half of their eaten mass as polluted dirt, so when fed algae that's 3.8 kilograms per cycle of polluted dirt, or 10 kilograms per cycle if fed Seakomb or Seakomb leaf. As each Pacu needs 2 domestic Seakomb plants to be fully fed, these need 20 kilograms per cycle of polluted dirt, but the Pacu only excretes 10 kilograms per cycle. So this is a net negative loop and cannot make more polluted dirt. Now of course the Pacu can be ranched on wild Seakomb, and in this case if you had 8 wild plants you could feed 1 Pacu, and this would excrete 10 kilograms per cycle of polluted dirt, which is enough for 1 domestic Seakomb plant. But given that 8 wild plants make twice as much as the 1 domestic Seakomb plant, you'd be better off just wild farming the plants and not using the Pacu at all if your goal is just to make Seakomb leaf. So the only really practical way to get polluted dirt is to use the ethanol distiller, which can make large amounts of polluted dirt as a byproduct of making ethanol. I'm going to assume we're using wood and not plywood, because plywood is just overall more expensive to make, especially in large amounts. To make wood then, we have 4 ways, but really the best one is using arbor trees. One domestic arbor tree can support 11.1 Seakomb plants, or a wild tree 2.77 Seakomb, which is quite good. Second up is the bonbon tree from the Frosty Planet Pack, and these can be harvested for wood too, except at only a quarter of the amount of an arbor tree. So this works out to 1 domestic bonbon tree making enough for 2.77 Seakomb plants, or 0.69 Seakomb plants per wild bonbon tree, so are harder to grow for less output and so not recommended. Also in the Frosty Planet Pack are phloxes, which can be sheared for wood. Here 1 phlox makes enough wood to farm 2 Seakomb plants, so is a decent ratio. But the downside is that you'll have to either supply phosphorite or water for their food plants of pike apple bushes or bristle blossoms. And last up, ochre shells can be ranched for wood too when crushing their molts. But given that ochre shells also eat polluted dirt, and much more than they make from the wood produced, this isn't really practical and you will just lose polluted dirt. They can eat slime instead, but making this sustainably in large numbers is going to be far more complicated than the other methods here, such that I don't think it's even worth considering for farming Seakomb. And that's everything there is about Seakomb in the Prehistoric Planet Pack for oxygen not included. I hope this helped you use these plants for fish food or biodiesel, and thanks for watching.